Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show. I'm your host, Bob Waltonspiel, always hanging out with co-host, producer extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week, old friend of ours, one of the classics. Khary Frazier is in the house from Detroit is Different. We're going to be talking about just catching up, reminiscing, talking about the future of this whole world we're in and content creation and the city of Detroit. It's been a while, so
a minute.
I'm looking forward to catching up. You can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Speaking of city of Detroit, guess where our next meetup is not going to be?
It's not in Detroit.
We're going to be in Royal Oak. We are going back to a former haunt of ours. It's got a new name, but we will be at Bar Louie on May 19th.
That is the old Blackfin. We got the back room all to ourselves. But we're going to go every other month. So we're going to be one here at the Detroit Shipping Company and then 1 month in Royal Oak. We wanted to switch it up a little bit because we did 3 in a row here in Detroit. So hope to see you out there. No speakers, no cover, just a bunch of IT folks talking with each other. Khary, it is I'm trying to figure out when's the last time has it been over 5 years?
In person? Yes, it definitely is pre-COVID.
Because I'm thinking like when I had my original knee surgery, that was 2019.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you since I went through my whole, now that I got a titanium striker knee. I went through crutches for a year and a half. So it's been, I was out of the game for a minute. So it's probably 6 years, but good to see you, man. You still look good.
Always,
you always look good.
Thank you. And as I always give so much homage to IT and the D and the roots of this with podcasting in Detroit, because a lot of times people say, wow, you were podcasting before podcasting. Who else in Detroit was podcasting before then? I was like, okay, you had certain people doing internet radio, but the first people I know in podcasting, it was IT and the D.
So our original thing, we were an internet radio station at the Russell, and everyone was broadcasting live, and we were the first ones to not broadcast live.
Yep.
And so, like, while everybody else was doing, and I'll never forget that. I don't know how it was $15 an hour, and that thing was jam packed all day and night with just people doing, listen to me live Friday at 9. And it was like, oh, like, you guys don't get it. Like, archive this stuff. Let it be out there.
Yeah. And it's taken on so much of a world even since then. And even in the archives now, we were talking a little bit about video. So in the Detroit is Different archives, you can go back in time and see some IT and the D video.
Well, you did our teaser reels when we were down in Ferndale, and we would sit at the bar and basically do like a 2-minute teaser.
Something. Yeah.
It was in that, we never figured out how to do video right, because like the teaser reels, and we never committed to it. We always committed to audio. But this is going to be the first IT in the D Show. We're actually recording video. I'm going to see how it looks afterwards.
Oh, I love it.
And we'll see where we go.
I love it. And even just the arc of what's happening with content creation, because people really don't understand this. Like, before, I don't even know whose deal was it, like Joe Rogan making some money, or Caller Daddy making some money, or Joe Budden making some money. But before people thought you could make money with podcasts, people looked at podcasting as if it was the Frisbee tournament or something.
Yeah.
So because like everybody listening to this or watching this, think about the Frisbee tournament and who would be in it. It was really people that like talking. And IT and the D opened up the door for a lot of people to have a conversation, first starting in IT, but it touched into community, nonprofit organizations, other businesses, creatives, just the world around, and how you could pull off the tree and connect. And a lot of lessons that I learned even from then still carry over to this day about how I think you can effectively grow a great audience. And what I speak to with all this content creation, we're so focused on reach when I talk to so many people, meaning like talking about millions of people, when really what you're doing in content creation, you want to get rich. You want to get rich relationships with people. And I saw that from the hangouts and people connecting and growing and building other networks of, I met Tom through you guys, I met Jared through you all. And even seeing that grow with everything that they've done creatively, if you can really get strong relationships, everybody listening, if I can urge anything of you all that are thinking about doing some content, it's about the rich relationships. And as you gave the text, like, yo, you open to pull up, I'm like, any day you reach out, I'm there, because I know what IT and the D means for Detroit, for content creation and me. So I will hope that people really make that message connect.
So it's interesting you brought up the community thing, because I go on forums and I talk to a lot of people, and they said after they did the show, they need to build a community. I said, it's funny because we did it backwards. Yeah. We started with the community, and then we said, let's do a show. And we didn't even really know what podcasting was at the time. We were just talking into a can, basically.
Yeah.
And but it was fantastic. And that was the whole thing. Like, all right, cool. Who's listening? And we were listening for feedback, and the nerds, man, the Comic Cons, and we all give back to charities and the nonprofits and the stuff that was cool around Detroit. So it became more that it wasn't a tech show. I wasn't gonna let Tom Lawrence teach people about open source tech stuff, right?
Hilarious.
We just wanted to kind of be that bridge in community. Like, what are we talking about? What's going on?
And a lot of cool people I met from there. And also it did have shout out to Nuri. I mean, I would not know Nuri if not for you all.
Yeah,
Nuri is like, when I even try to sort of explain Nuri to people, like, okay, is this, is that, and similar to like some of my my views about how people say, oh man, Detroit's gonna welcome in all of this tech innovation from young thinkers. And I was like, I don't necessarily know if the culture of what was industrial work and corporate jobs and how a lot of the tech people I know that are very creative think kind of mesh together. And those are discussions that I know I can speak with a little bit of know-how, knowledge, and wisdom from IT and the D.
I heard something yesterday, Randy. I don't know if you heard this too, that they were talking about how, how Austin and Nashville are just absolutely booming. Everybody's going down there. I could tell that from day job that a lot of my contacts are in Austin now. A lot of my contacts are in Nashville now. They were basically saying Detroit's the third in line.
That's what I'm hearing.
Nice.
And I said, oh, nice too. But then I thought about it. I go, I hope that's true. Because I know they were trying to bring like battery tech and because here's the thing that people didn't know, like the purple squirrel element that lives in Detroit is like, they say all the brain drain left and went to Silicon Valley and went to Austin. But like the people that know like supply chain and know manufacturing and there's also a tech bed in the Ann Arbor area. You know what I'm like? The startup community is massive here. I think we have as many billion-dollar startups as anybody in the country other than Silicon Valley. And I don't know why Detroit still gets slept on. Like
I interviewed a guy, Brian Campbell, the other day, and he was just talking about Waymo and its work from here out. And I was like, for real? I didn't put all of this stuff together, but it's a lot of creative thinkers here. I think the culture will be a little bit different. I don't necessarily know if some of the tech people I know are wanting to show up like 9 to 5 in an office per se and go through like 7 and 9 meetings a week per se.
That's light. I'll take that all day.
Well, sales. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Yeah,
I think we need one more big hit to shake off Detroit's the automotive place. If you're not doing automotive, you don't go there.
Yeah.
We need one new big thing to like shake up the industry and show people that we're not just legacy auto anymore.
I thought Duo did it and then Cisco buys it and then they didn't, right? Like every time we get this thing, it gets gobbled up pretty quickly and it becomes someone else's now.
And then there's the whole debate, is Detroit and Ann Arbor, are they the same? Is Ann Arbor part of Metro Detroit, or are they a separate entity?
Well,
depends on who you ask. They say no.
It's I forget the guy's name. One of the mayoral candidates actually wants to stretch Detroit into Ann Arbor, which is extremely provocative, and I don't think that anybody will vote for anything like that. But
that's like saying Chicago's Peoria. It's Ann Arbor I think it goes both ways. I think Ann Arbor wants to be Ann Arbor, and I think Detroit wants to be Detroit.
I would say this, as a Detroiter, when somebody from Ann Arbor is in LA,
They say they're from Detroit.
Yes, I would definitely say that.
I got to talk about that because this has been bothering me for years. And so you would say, "Hey, where are you? I'm in Vegas. And where are you from? Oh, I'm from Auburn Hills, Michigan. Well, where's that? Well, here's how I would explain it. Well, it's by Detroit. You know where Detroit's 8 Mile, and everybody knows that. I said I'm technically on 20 Mile, but it's called something else. So then you just stop and I say, where are you from? Oh, Detroit.
Yep.
But then people get mad. Like we've been arguing like with people for years, going, "Oh, you can't say that because you're Detroitish." I'm like, come on, like just let it. Like it was a expedited conversation necessity. It was not, hey, I'm trying to brag that I grew up in Warren. Like who cares? Like where is that? The city north of Detroit. So what do you say? Like
I would say it's definitely. Some people are throwing sauce on when they speak about like in other cities that I'm from Detroit, but it does make sense as far as like what moves. I mean, really, if you're from Michigan and you're in another place, more than likely you're going to say Detroit.
But like, it's funny because like day job to be in Grand Rapids, it's looked upon differently. It's very much looked upon differently. Like, oh, if you're from West Side, oh, if you're from Detroit, and it's a thing. Like everybody's Vander something.
Yeah. I like Grand Rapids. I've actually been doing some work with Grand Valley State University.
It's a great town.
Shout out to so many of the people there and some of the things that are happening there. But yeah, the feel, the vibe, it's so weird. I feel like Grand Rapids is like the conservative Ann Arbor, and Ann Arbor is like they're like Magneto and Professor X or something. It's weird. Like,
but they gotta coexist. That's my thing. You need it's balance. You need a light side and a dark side of the force. Yeah. I haven't caught up with Detroit is Different in a while. I see your stuff. Obviously, I follow you still on all the socials. It's been a while since we talked, but like for those not in the know. Obviously it goes in the name Detroit is Different, but what was the kind of like the aha moment where you're like, I got to get something out there?
Okay, so everything started with music. I don't know if a lot of people, because now the main microphone I'm doing is podcasting. So rapping and hip hop was the platform leading up to 2015 when I came out with my last album, If Detroit Were Heaven. I wanted another outlet and platform to just dull out my music. And I was really into podcasts at the time. A lot of the podcasts I was listening to, a lot of Bill Burr, a lot of Mark Maron. And then I was saying, okay, I can really get into some long form conversations and introduce people to the Detroit that I know. Because surprisingly, I don't know, 2012, 2013, a lot of the views of Detroit was, I don't know this in Detroit, I don't know that in Detroit. And I still feel it's a very cliquish town. And I started Detroit is Different to try to introduce the Detroit that I know to the people that I feel like never will get to see it. Because even to this day, I feel as though it's some very rich culture in Detroit. So dynamic, so unique, but unless you like get welcomed into it, you don't even know it exists. And you'll just think that the people you know and what they're doing is all that's going on in Detroit.
See, it's funny because I grew up obviously we had different upbringing. Like when I grew up in Detroit, I went 15 years old. I'm in the shelter with a fake ID. I remember going to Alvin's when I was 18, seeing punk bands. I remember going to Better Days at Wayne State Campus, seeing house and techno DJs, going to City Club with the new wave scene. Like, it was, and then, going to Six and Gratiot at some after hours, and listening to hip hop. So like, it was like when you say diverse, like that was another scene you were like, what the hell are you talking about? But like that was in the middle of it too.
I think that all of that is so Detroit itself, but the culture of like what's so like classic Detroit. The people that are into what do I think about? Like it can be something as unique as the way that classic Detroit pizza.
Yeah.
And the definition of Detroit pizza.
Oh, that
what's
argument.
The standard.
That argument.
How that it starts and just the whole thought process of like, okay, when you think Buddies, I'm thinking Conant and 6 Mile.
Oh, yeah, all day.
But to another person,
did you know?
Thinking,
hold on, I got to time.
What's up?
Did you know they got sold to private equity in 2019?
No, I did not.
Because I took my family from Chicago to the Auburn Hills Buddies, and it came out flat with no crispy edge.
Oh,
And I do not complain at restaurants, Khary. I just won't go back. Like, I'm never going to say anything. I'm just going to pay my bill. I'm going to tip 20%, and I'm done. Then I go to the one, I got people from out of town, and I'm talking buddies up, so we go to the one by Comerica Park. It's my office is right around the corner, so it was convenient, and it was bad. And then so I'm talking about this with a group of friends, and he goes, "Did you know it sold to private equity in 19?" I go, "I had no idea." I go, "That explains everything." Like, did you know why Toys R Us and Red Lobster are done? Why they're out of business? So those companies owned their real estate. It was kind of like 7-Eleven. They were McDonald's. They were if you ask McDonald's, they were a real estate company. They weren't a burger company right now.
yeah.
Toys R Us and Red Lobster the same way. They own their parcels of land. They sell it to private equity. Private equity then sells the real estate to their sister company, the real estate holding firm. And then the real estate holding firm leases it back at triple the rates to Red Lobster.
Wow.
Right? And then that's what happened to Toys R Us. And then they go, we can't make it. And then they end up liquidating it to pennies on the dollar to another sister company. And then they sell the IP to Macy's. So now the Toys R Us are coming back in pop-ups in Macy's.
And no more Jeffrey the Giraffe.
And these were like, no, but these were like these were like, great company. Like, and I look at the buddies going, the quality went down, and why? And I go, why?
I'm still going to 6 Mile. It's some other things that are different, but 6 Mile I still stand on.
Are you a Louis guy?
What you say?
Louis in Hazel Park.
Louis in Hazel Park. You've uplifted that. Louis in Hazel Park is on point.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Because you said try it. Because I remember that was like one of those times where everybody was like, go to Green Lantern. So I was
Green
like,
Lantern's
okay, let me
proper.
try that. But Louis was better.
Palazzo de Pizza's got them all.
Don't even know Palazzo.
So do you remember our old podcast studio in 11 Mile?
Yeah.
In Royal Oak?
Uh-huh.
Palazzo was the pizzeria in the front. They moved into the studio. So when Dave Portnoy was here, he was in the out front, the oldest podcast studio.
Uh-huh.
And they make, it's this dad and the two boys and the two sons. And that's all that works there.
Wow.
And when they run out of dough, they're done. It's kind of like Freddie the Pizza Man in Melvindale.
Okay.
And he'll probably never get bigger than that. But they make it the way I always say: if you're dying tomorrow and you got one shot to make a dish, like if you want to make a pizza, they would make it that way.
Wow.
Perfect crust, perfectly cooked. It's fantastic on every level.
So as you all are hearing this pizza discussion, this is like Detroit, and I don't think that a lot of people would even think outside of wherever they go to get their Detroit version of what Detroit pizza is. But you can get this dynamic in discussions about this. You can get this dynamic in discussions about, like, as you talk about music, the blues clubs and the blues players that are from Detroit. And if you're not in the culture
Jazz
of that,
clubs,
and Baker's being the oldest that's still around jazz clubs.
Khary, did I ever tell you the story about Baker's? We took a friend there, and we're ordering food, and he looks at me and he goes, "This place is bullshit." And I go, "What? What's going on?" He goes, "They charge you $4 for ranch." I go, "Where do you see this?" And he goes, "Right there. It says dressing $4." I'm like, "You got, man." I go, "We gotta get you Detroit more." I go, "You're still in the suburbs,
hilarious.
Man." I'm like $4. I'm like, so every time I see dressing now, I have to laugh every time.
That is funny. But catfish, greens, macaroni and cheese,
Scotty Simpson's.
Man,
No. Have you been to Scotty Simpson's lately?
No.
That's on Finkel on the west side.
I know.
I drove out there because I went to Ireland for my 50th for St. Patrick's Day.
What was that like? 'Cause I saw the pictures and I was liking it. What was that like?
Here's I'm going to be dead honest to God truth. When you go to like Gus O'Connor's in Rochester Hills, which is an Irish bar, Dick O'Dow's, which is an Irish bar that they built in Ireland, they basically, and you're like, that's bullshit. It's just an Americanized garbage version of it's
Irish.
spot on.
Wow.
That's the way the pubs are. The difference is you're in a building that was built in 1652.
Okay.
Right? Like I went to a place called the Brazen Head that was built in like the 11th century.
The Brazen Head.
Yeah.
God
And
damn.
you could see the mortar in the walls and you're like, oh yeah, this thing.
You said the mortar.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like it's the age of everything. This cobblestone road. I took a picture of my wife on at 1 a.m. We're stumbling out of a bar called the Harry Lemon.
What in the hell was up with the names they were? Randy, why were they naming bars that?
You know what it is? Because people
There's so many. You got to come up with.
I know the answer to that. They couldn't read. And so they would put a picture of, that's why it's like the bull or whatever, like the orange, the red bull or whatever they would put on the side of the building, the bronze boar.
Okay.
Right. And then people would know it by the insignia because they couldn't read.
So
that's what I was told.
Now I kind of got to lead on what Randy just said. You said, so by the time you get to the Harry Lemon, how many other bar names was, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You could be the black horse, the red dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. Harry Lemon.
The history there, though, I did get to tell two Irish jokes there to an old man. That's all I wanted to do. But like the bars if you go to Gus O'Connor's in Rochester, the food's like, it's reasonably priced. A pint of beer is $6, and you'd think it'd be more. Nobody messes around with and all the food is like done proper.
Okay.
Like one of the best breakfasts I ever had was $12.
Okay.
Like,
I would imagine it'd be like that movie Beer Fest or some shit.
that's Germany, man. We're going there next. Have you ever seen a beer hall in Munich like during Oktoberfest?
I have. I had German in high school. So Frau Ellis, shout out Frau Ellis. She would show like all these different things in German culture. And amongst that and waltzing, and she was definitely always talk about Oktoberfest.
Yeah. Nothing like 15,000 people sitting in tables singing the most worst American pop songs that you would never think would be played over there.
Yes.
And they're going bananas for these ridiculous, awful songs.
So it's like they're singing 98 Degrees with a stout in their hand.
No. I'm talking like, you know, the movie Dirty Dancing, that hey, baby. They would play that every half an hour at every bar all week long. And the place would go nuts.
That's like, that's somebody's purgatory or something.
Yeah, it's for real. Like John Denver. Which one's the John Denver one? Country roads take me home. Everybody's not going crazy.
That reminds me of in 2000 when I worked that was like whatever the first year of Comerica Park was, working there. And that was the year of Who Let the Dogs Out.
Oh, God.
So I have a deep disdain to that song because they played that song so much.
Horrible. One of the worst. Someone was arguing with me because I put out a worst song. During COVID, I was doing playlists on Spotify of my life, and I ran out of playlists because I was going this bar, this scene, classic this, old that. And then I just said, you know what? Worst songs ever.
Hilarious.
And my criteria was, it's not just that you turn it off on the radio. You got to say Christ and then turn it off. Like that was you get angry. And Thong Song was on there for me.
People hated that. Yeah. Cisco, that was you ever went to the club and seen a Let Me See That Thong competition?
I was the DJ hosting them.
So you should have been in love with the thong.
No, it was brutal. It was brutal. Shout out to Frank at the Post Bar Mount Clemens. We used to line up like 15 shots of God knows what, Jaeger, whatever he'd pour. And any girl that would come up and now that I look back at it, I go, God, that was brutal.
Oh man, it's that, talk about an era where that was definitely a gray area. What's so funny, one of my, cause this is high school for me, but one of my homeboys' girlfriends got in one of the competitions and it was one of the weirdest moments ever. Cause it's like, damn. And if people don't know, like the Let Me See That Thong competition, it's like the song would start, you're the DJ. So so it's like a build up in that song. Shout out to Drew Hill, because I was a Drew Hill fan. So like it would build up and Cisco was like talking, and then it's like dun 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 dun. But by the time it gets to the second, like the first hook in the thong competition, the woman on stage is in a thong and there's an audience, men and women, usually slapping some ass. So sitting next to my homeboy and his girls on stage, I'm too young to process this. I don't even know at this age how I will process this, but it definitely was not. It was an interesting bus ride back to his house where it's like, boy, a silent bus ride that's a tough one.
Ours were more PG-13, but I digress. So before we got in, it's funny, always on these things we have the best conversations before we hit record. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, I was explaining to you, like with the podcast studio here. Mm-hmm. And I said, everybody that called, they didn't just want audio, they wanted video, and they wanted do reels. And you for me, you were my first introduction into like creating video. And to me, I didn't even think I should have been ahead of it, and I missed it. Now I'm okay with that. It was, but like for you now, you're creating content, you're doing it across everything.
Yeah.
Like is everything reels now because we're short attention span and we're all doom scrolling on our phones? Is that what brought it?
I still do long form, and I'm just now like people, because I was big on like you need the full context of a conversation, because Lord knows even that comment right there, people will cut 30 seconds and be like, oh, look at this. And it's like, hear the whole story. With that, I'm still such a long form content person, but reels are just what people are attracted to, and even more than reels, shorts. So like you get the IG shorts, the meta shorts, and then I look at also the tracking of what trends on TikTok versus what trends on Facebook meta versus what trends on Instagram meta versus what trends with like a YouTube short. It's so unique, and some of the stuff will catch fire just from the engagement. That's what I've seen most. And usually the engagement is based on a person taking whatever the clip is out of context.
The thing that bothers me nowadays, it's no secret I'm a pro wrestling fan.
Very much so.
And the two things that bother me the worst is WrestleMania was this past weekend, and it's people will shit on everything.
Yep.
And then you'll get the fight start. And that's where you get your engagement.
And that's what it's about.
And then the other one is, hold on, sorry. Mm-hmm. The other one is Barstool's the worst. I think they do it I know they do it on purpose. They'll go top 10 quarterbacks, and they'll put Mahomes like 8th, and they'll put like a rookie set, and you're like, it's clearly a garbage list. And then everyone will go, no, got to put Mahomes 2, engagement. And the fact that you can't just have good content anymore. Like the guy that my wife will send me these recipe, this guy that makes this dish, and he mispronounces stuff just for the purpose of, and now I refuse. I don't care if he cooks the greatest meal I've ever had in my life.
Hilarious.
He's dead to me just because he has to mispronounce something to get engagement.
I think people on cooking competitions on TV, if they mispronounce mascarpone cheese, they should just be immediately eliminated.
Oh, just all of it though. Like,
yeah, it's so bad.
I think it's like an audience connected to a lot of these hacks that get people even in.
But don't you think it makes for bad content?
I definitely think it does that. And that's why I'm looking to make things shorter, but still keep the same voice and integrity of whatever my discussion with that person was. Cause it feels hacky to me. It feels hacky. It feels cheap. Kind of like I'm not really into Japanese TV, but the moments I've seen it, it's just like real over the top. It feels kind of like that. And I don't want anything over the top. I would rather have it be rich so a person will go back to it and appreciate it. Though a lot of people are clearly just grabbing on to like whatever is sensationalized. How do you take this moment and play out? And not to mention, even when I go to YouTube now, it's like they suggest trends of things you should talk about and what they think would be in a way, because a lot of this content now people are looking to monetize directly from the content. Whereas I do feel that the richer experience, back to the rich experience, is from building relationships and actually creating content that connects with people.
Well, anybody can buy likes. Anyone can buy clicks. Anyone can buy, right? But to have longevity, to have, and we've gone through our ebbs and flows with this show,
If you're not if you're in this for the long haul and you're not going to ebb and flow and not have like a stint where you're not active and refiguring, reconfiguring, I think it's not sincere. It's not going to be a real life experience.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, we're in that point. Not that the content I think is fantastic. It's the delivery mechanisms of.
You're always thinking about how to deliver, how to build better process. Cause this is the other thing. In the world of looking to create that 30-second clip or that minute clip, it can sometimes take away even from the people you talk to.
Yeah.
Because people just don't want to sit down and what we're doing, have a common conversation like what podcasting started as. And I feel it's a lot of people that have podcasted after what they look at like the big checks. I think one of the most provocative ones clearly for a lot of people is people's opinions of Joe Rogan. And in my mind, as a person that I remember Joe Rogan from news radio, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
fear factor and
just comedy itself. But if you take, it's so many people that have opinions on him based on the money that they believe he received from it. And I'm not saying he's not getting money from it.
Yeah.
But to sit and listen to a 3-hour conversation with whomever he's talking to and unpack it and see that, okay, it's a skill set in this. It's become an art form. It's become something to learn from. It becomes dismissive when people are just so focused on just thinking the money and the success is why you do this.
And that's, I'd be lying if I said, I'm always trying to get better too. And that was, I always played the dumb guy because I'm in sales. I'm in IT. Like that's my role. Like, you know what I mean? You're not supposed to be the smartest guy in the room for obvious reasons. But like, tell me more about that. Tell me when that comes from like the consulting world. When we're sitting in front of an enterprise client, they're like, hey, we need to put in this new thing. Mm-hmm. Well, why? Like, it's almost like, so like, it's no different than sitting here in a podcast than being on a sales call. Like, tell me more about that. Tell me, like you said something that it's intriguing. Tell me more about that. And I think Rogan does that. And, mm-hmm. and it's funny. Did you, not to get into the specifics of it, but it's finding that short 30-second clip and then destroying. And then did you listen to the 10 minutes before and after like that? And that's the thing. The problem is no one's listening to a 3-hour podcast. Like I'm not. And nobody is.
I would say that I guess I'm still one of those crazy people that do listen to long form as I'm working or editing or working out or working on longer projects. I like long form. It may take me a while to carve and chop out and go through it all.
Yeah.
But depending upon what it is and who's speaking, I do want the full context, especially if something very sensational catches my ear where it's like, okay, I got to get the full, let's go deeper with this. And you're right. The average person, I think, is probably going to lean on the TikTok generation, which is also very interesting to me because, a person may not watch that 3 hours, but they'll watch 3 hours worth of TikTok videos.
They will. Yeah. It's the short attention span thing. And I get caught doom scrolling. And I don't like, you have to like break yourself out of it. Like mm-hmm. They know, like we had last week, we were talking about, customer data platforms that these companies that what they know about you and they try to do it to tailor an experience that is for you. And like, do you know you're being like when you leave, we talked about Costco and it's like, do you know you're being manipulated when you go in there? Like you spend $600, but you're bragging to your buddies, you got $1.50 hot dog, and you just squashed all of and you get the dopamine hit with the free samples. Right. And it's kind of like that with the, you got to break, like the algorithm is programmed for you to keep looking.
Very much so. What is being catered to, but this is where, a lot of this stuff, intelligent design, AI, what's catering to us, but also that's where we can kind of lean into other experiences that aren't in these spaces. Like, we can put this phone down.
Yeah.
And we can just kick it. We can just have a regular kickback. Those times when we're non-screen dependent, I think become much more rich, much more valuable.
Sitting on the porch, man. Those days are.
And that's where I guess I'm old school with.
I
that's
am
where
too.
I'm trying to get my porch space back, or, you know, sitting really through a movie and really watching it. Like I just saw that Sinners movie. Amazing.
Can you sit through The Irishman?
The Irishman, I wasn't as amazed with The Irishman. I did actually like which was
I only brought up that because it's 3 hours and God, you know,
it was I like Pacino's. I don't think Pacino was portraying from what I know, but I liked his portrayal. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny. There was another one. I thought they were the same movie. It was called Kill the Irishman or Death to the Irishman. And it was Cleveland based, union boss. And it had a lot of Detroit ties to it. Actually, it was filmed here. A couple of my buddies were in it.
I saw that movie. It came out like maybe 2000.
Early, yeah, like, 2, 3.
Yeah. And it had the main actor in it, and Lord knows he's not like he's not like Brad Pitt, but he's like been in like some of those movies. He's not like a B-list actor, but man, what? But I remember that movie. That was real cool.
But so when the Irishman came out, I thought it was the same movie. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not how it went, because it was because this one it was more Hoffa. It was all Hoffa in Kill the Irishman.
Yep, it was Hoffa
or in the Irishman.
And then
Kill the Irishman was 2011.
Yep, that's that sounds about right. That sounds about right, because I was gonna say like 2012.
Ray Stevenson.
Yep.
Christopher Walken was in it. Val Kilmer was in it.
Yep.
My buddy, he was the bouncer at the Post Bar. He was an extra in it, and he was hilarious. Like when they lifted him up in the bar, cheering when he got the union boss job. Like that was Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that movie was really cool, and Scorsese did Kill the Irishman.
He did. And
I like sometimes the panning shots, colors with Scorsese. Like even to this day, if I have time and Casino's on, I'm watching Casino
all day. It's one of the few.
What's that? 3 hours?
Yeah.
It's definitely got to be that.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, this may be like kind of sacrilegious of Scorsese fans. I like Casino more than I like Goodfellas, even though I recognize Goodfellas is the plot in the movie. Actually, like if I had to sit and introduce it to somebody, is better in Goodfellas. But just me personally, I like more of the characters in Casino.
They're both documentaries. Let's not be. They're loose documentaries. But those are both documentaries.
They're very loose.
You got to make a good movie, you know. So getting back to what you're doing, you're still podcasting, you're still putting out video. What where are you finding your content, or what are you talking about?
Well,
like today,
I still like welcoming on and connecting to like that Detroit story, especially like more community bases. I'm doing like so much more like with the Collard Green Cook Off, natural hair show, uplifting a lot of these legacy Black Detroit stories, people that have been here like families since the 60s, and getting that rich story told, but also the other layers of like how that connects. So welcoming on a lot of people that say, yo, I really want to come on. So it's like, yeah, let's have these discussions. And in my mind, I don't know what's going to happen with this archive, but I do feel like it's going to be a rich value, because just from doing a podcast now, I can like layer things, times, places, discussions, having understanding about neighborhoods, and really when families got to neighborhoods, that has become a really cool, like almost like a dissertation of such.
How do you think, or where do you think Detroit's going right now? Like I've seen it. We've both seen it. Like we're sitting up on the old school Cass corridor.
Yep.
You know, the rent's like Rochester Hills pricing right now.
Oh, most definitely.
Which is like the good touch, bad touch about Detroit coming back is it's still not what it was. There's old pictures of Cass corridor, right? When you make a right here on, Peterborough and Cass, like that street was full.
Yeah.
And you look at it now and it's not.
I think because one of my newest projects is Detroit Next. That's a podcast video collaboration with Bridge Detroit. Shout out to Bridge Detroit. And it's very political about this upcoming election. And we've had a lot of people come on the show and share perspective. So some of what I'm sharing is from what they've given, and then some of it is just from what I've seen. I think that first, Mayor Duggan's administration and time in office, I think the framing of how it's seen is not how I would have seen it. And I'm not saying like it's all like lipstick on a pig, but some of it presents better than what I think really has happened. And as much as I'm saying this about Detroit, it's even how I'm looking across America. So when I look at a lot of the development that's happened in Detroit for a lot of office buildings, and this kind of goes back to some of the discussion that I was speaking on, people aren't wanting to go back in the office, period. So so that our cities investing heavily in office structures when people really aren't tapping back in.
Hang on, I'm gonna step in, being the office worker. We don't want beige cubes.
Yeah.
Right? That's hell. Like that is like borderline prison. I'm being funny with facetious.
Office space.
But like a very cool, flexible, open, co-working, phone booth to duck out of, collaboration spaces. We're social people. I'm not meant to go in my basement and sit in front of a monitor and look at Teams calls all day. Right? That's why I go book lunches. That's why I book breakfast. That's why I book happy hours. The same token, I want to, I don't need to book a Teams call for me to gossip about Jimmy Sue. You know what I'm saying? There's something to be said about being together.
I think that in person does count.
They need to rethink how
it's delivered, what it looks like, how to put in. I don't think this is an exclusively Detroit problem. The challenge in Detroit becomes post-bankruptcy, what's happening, what's going to happen in these mixed markets, and just really the housing challenge in America. Because there's a lot during COVID, as a lot of the office people that own office buildings were slammed, many of them have entered the residential market.
Yeah.
And communities like mine, when I look at like houses being partitioned and,
BlackRock buying half the houses. People don't realize like how many, like me and my wife found it would be pretty much, it checked all the boxes of everything we wanted in a house. It was up in Shelby Township with, I wanted a master bath or master bedroom with the glass doors that you could walk out in the patio. And then there was a pool back there. So it was like basically like you could just get up and go out the back patio straight from the bedroom. Something it was, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't care. Let's go. And then we cleaned out the house, getting ready to sell it. I put a bid. Next day, cash offer. Like, who the hell is putting out? And then I started talking about it, and there was so many people got hit with that. Oh yeah, we found this house. We either had to go over at 50 grand, or we got sniped with a cash offer. Those are the corporations coming in.
Yeah, because it's going to that, and the corporations can function in spaces where even if you get the house, like contracting, it's like, okay, you go to the contractor, it's like, do you want to do 30 roofs or do you want to do one roof? You know what I'm saying? So it makes communities like mine, because I'm in show enough, like what they say, hardest hit, blighted Detroit, but I love my block, love my neighborhood. And, area median income just for Detroit is about $36K.
Yeah.
But when we look at like inside Detroit, like not including those surrounding outskirts and communities like mine, you're probably looking at people making $18,000, $24,000 a year, you know? So like functioning and what that looks like and stability. So to pour into like opportunities and pull in these people creatively, similar to that workspace, I think it's going to take some dynamic visions, that programming, and like I think new ways to look at apprenticeship programs, new ways to look at what flexible lending would look like.
Trades.
And
See, now I have good things and bad things about pretty much every politician. Like I think Duggan came in, and I think he started off really strong. It's like, hey, we're gonna clean up the blight, we're gonna get rid of the graffiti, and I think it's kind of like it got to be a lot. And I think like the one thing that I think was a miss, not saying he missed, I want to get your take on it because you're closer to it than I am, but was the schools. And that was the point. Like if you want people to raise families in Detroit. Like, got to do something with schools.
So it's so unique as you talk about the school challenge. And I was had a great interview with Angelique Power that runs Skillman Foundation, which gives a lot of supplemental support to schools in Detroit. And she just straight up asked, like, okay, in Michigan, how many school districts do you think it is? And I was like, I don't know. The way you say it, it's like Price is Right, like 1,000. She was like, not that many, but 827. And in Detroit itself, just due to like the structures of schools, it's so different because students are...
Detroit's giant, for one. People don't realize the real estate, how giant that city is.
It's Detroit Public Schools Community District. So like public schools, it's charter schools.
Yeah.
It's students that are on online school. It's homeschool. So like to function in what the education process is now, I believe that it needs to be more supplemental where you're gathering spaces where you can connect with all students and really meet parents in that middle. So it's going to be more, not necessarily boys and girls clubs, because I know that's more centered around athletics, but like spaces where it can be supplemental support for academics after schools that centers all these students together to stay in academics, but also socialize. And that takes more of those dynamic visions.
Yeah.
Plus, part of the problem is the school district is an independent government organization itself. It's not related to the city. It's not part of the city.
Detroit.
So
yeah, and even with that, and I'm proud DPS, Northwestern High School. Shout out to my class and my school. But it's not a part. It's independent. But I do think working together will have to happen in some form of supplement. And always the elephant in the room of this whole region, transportation. You connect a rail that really stretches. I personally think that the rail should go as far reaching to, like, I think you need 3 lines. I think you need a line for Gratiot, Grand River, and Woodward, all to go out 30 miles and really connect.
Woodward should go to Pontiac. Well, that's 30 miles, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem, though, is so much more of our traffic these days is east-west. It's not north-south. So you got people going across. Those rails do nothing for them.
696 rail.
I was thinking,
like, if you think they're redoing 696, well, they should have put it down, like, right in the smack in the middle. Put it,
I would say every, like, if in the Khary world of vision, I would say every 4 miles you would have a station that goes across as well. Which I mean, by the time you get to baseline, that's going to be like, baseline and further and further and further, but like, 24 mile or whatever, but still it'd be worth it. It's going to connect a lot of spaces. You'll have like large parking structures. I believe people will use it. It will only strengthen the region exponentially.
I think, like, if you go to Europe, I know, like, my friend lived in a small town outside of Stuttgart, and we all got up and left, and I said, where we, we're going to take the train. Oh, we're going to walk. And it was a 10-minute walk. And then we took the train into Stuttgart, and then we took the train home, and it was painless. And it was like the city center had the, but it was small. They were like these, here, like, you look at how, like, that's the one thing I always knocked when people, hey, if I go in Detroit, what should I do? I go, the problem is you're going to have to drive, because you can't, there isn't that park. There isn't like Cleveland in the flats. Like, no. You got to drive around. And that's the one thing that, and don't get me started on the whole French road thing with the fan out. Like, hilarious. See, my take was, I got yelled at by a few people on this. If you look at, I went to San Francisco and I walked from the ballpark from AT&T to the wharf. All right. It was like 8 lanes Boulevard, train going up the middle, the trolleys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is Detroit. If Detroit would have did it right. And they're all looking at me like, you're Bob, and I go, no. If you would have went from the Ambassador Bridge, went 8 lane all the way to Belle Isle, right? Boulevard in the middle. And I go, and all the buildings are on the non-water side of the 8 lane. And you think about what the difference, because now if you look at downtown, you only get that, not even a quarter mile between Cobo and Jefferson split. And you don't have that true, like, Campus Marsh has kind of brought it together, but that's off the beaten path now if you look at it.
I think transit's going to be very big. So it's a lot of questions, and not to mention just the macro of what's happening across America. And I'm not necessarily saying politically. I'm just saying what you said about housing too, because that housing challenge in many places, you talked about San Francisco, that's one of the things. There is a homelessness challenge in Detroit, but it's nothing like some of these other cities you go to.
Khary, I went to Seattle for work, and the first thing I did when I came home is I said, I will take Detroit homeless over Seattle homeless 1,000 times out of 1,000. I go, it's one thing. The guy says, hey, give me $5. It's another thing like, oh shit, I'm going to die. Like we went to, so you'll appreciate this. I had to, so I'm right out downtown Seattle at work, and I got to go to Dick's. Why? My posse's on Broadway.
Hilarious.
You know, let's go stop and eat. Dick's is the place so now this thing's stuck in my head, and I'm right posse to the burger stand. So big, we walk in twos, and I'm sitting and I'm taking the Uber, and we're hitting the streets that they were hitting in that song. And I'm like, it was the one of the, I don't know, it was, the burgers were trash. Like it wasn't good food, but like the fact that there was
hilarious. That is hilarious. It's like one of the greatest Sir Mix-a-Lot songs. Actually, I love a lot of Sir Mix-a-Lot songs.
But that was the one.
But Posse on Broadway. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
I still think your Chevy track should have hit.
Thank you.
Like I am not saying this. I'm not blowing smoke because you're sitting there. Like, I listened to it when you weren't in the room. Like, put it that way.
That's dope. That means a lot as a person that was spinning.
Is that still on YouTube?
Do I have that on YouTube? I think it's still there. For you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig it up.
What was it?
I'll make sure I get it.
What was the exact name
Chevy.
of it? It was just old school. Because I looked up Chevy. That did not come up.
I'll make sure I get it back up. It's so funny, like even with like YouTube licensing and stuff, it's like I gotta license my own shit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
it was my one buddy tried to almost made it big. The guy Gene Simmons went to sign him, but it was like one of those blood, you're gonna sign your kids away contracts, and he wouldn't do it.
What's so funny?
But he got a song on a Volkswagen commercial.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Is this? Oh, of course we get a shipped ad.
Hilarious.
What were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I was just pulling up.
Gene Simmons was the lady. It was somebody else that was like about to sign a deal with Gene Simmons. It's like I didn't even recognize Gene Simmons was doing so much. Like,
all right, here we go.
Yeah, there we go. That's me.
It's good. I'm just saying. I was telling you, I was listening to this when you weren't in the room.
That's what's up, man. I love it. Yeah,
you got out of the you got to get back in the music game. I'm just saying.
Yeah, this the main microphone I'm at, and as we even talked about with video editing is like and I love it, but talk about a world that you start going in and you like, oh, I'm gonna just make a color correction. You look up 7 hours later and you like, I'm still editing.
My neighbor did the video. This is 10 years ago. This is before the AI. This is before podcasting and all that. He was doing the documentaries on PBS. That was his job, was the editing. He was in that was film edit. And he was basically like, it's an hour for every minute. So if you're watching an hour documentary, it took me 60 hours of work to make sure that was good.
Man, I feel like killing Ken Burns, but no, I'm just
right. But I'm just saying, like, the fact that you like to have that kind of focus, like I'm way too ADD to ever think about doing that.
It's what's funny is because I was always into graphic design and clearly the music and the audio. So it was kind of like putting everything together. It's like watching the images animate along with music. So when I edit video, I'm still looking at the audio wave timeline. Like I can almost look. That's how much I was doing music. It's like I started, back in the day, I could look at a wave format and just hear what you said, and I say, "Oh, I know where that's at." He said "the" right here.
See, my goal was, since German music is so bad, I wanted to get Nuri to like spin like a remix dance track of like some let's go out of a hat, just pick a crappy song and just put a good beat to it and sing. There's a guy named DJ Otzi Otzzi. He is bigger than Elvis in Germany.
Wow.
And if you look at a picture of him, he looks like Randy with like a snow cap on.
Hilarious.
Or me, whatever. Me and Randy look the same. Hilarious. So it's not like it was great. But like, and it's all remixed, like Summer of '69. But it's like this bad dance track, and I'm like, God, I could, you
got a calling over there.
I just wanted that one track,
not connect with the roots,
the David Hasselhoff thing. Like, no, that was brutal. There's just one song. That's all. Like that's play it in a club once. Like there's all that I can go in peace. Then
he united the country again.
You know that when the Berlin Wall fell, he sang.
Yeah.
When Reagan said, Gorbachev, tear down that wall.
Yeah.
That was goddamn David Hasselhoff with a light up jacket.
United the country.
Yeah.
I like I said, because Frau Ellis, so much stuff about unique German anecdotes over time that I've learned from that still stands out, where it's like, okay, yeah, Frau Ellis.
Have you been to Lagerhaus number 5?
No.
So they have, an Eastern Market. They have it's called the Deutsch Treut food truck. They set up home there, and that is the best German food I've had, since I've been in stateside.
Wow!
So like the Ratskeller and all the places that were around here, they can't touch their food is fantastic.
Okay, because the food from that class, it was duck that she gave us one time. That was pretty good.
Oh.
Everything else was like,
it's cutlets, it's schnitzel, it's
like,
beef. It's all pretty plain. Like, you're not getting any spice with German food. Pretzel and beer and, lunch meat. Like, you're not. This isn't like schnitzel is just a cutlet. Like, it's just got sauce on it,
Okay. So
the Jaeger schnitzel sauce regular is just plain.
Okay. I know Lagerhaus because it's down the street from the distillery.
Yeah.
And around the corner from it's this other place I got to try. This guy that talked about where it's like he sold the hell out of this sandwich. I was doing this storytelling in the workshop where he was
in
like,
Eastern Market.
Yeah, it's like a countertop place where he was talking about like he really was in the sandwich.
You're talking Frank's Deli?
No, it's a pop-up place. It's his mom does gumbo and he does the sandwiches.
Oh.
I'll text you. I'll text you.
Because Frank's is getting on the map with some of that chicken Caesar wrap. I got one. I picked one up for my daughter. Once it hits the reels and you get like one of those guys that does the reviews, it blows the places up. And that was we went there for I think opening day for breakfast.
Okay, was it good?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Okay,
they do it. It was the old. It used to be Wiggly's, and then I think it just changed it to Frank's Deli. It used to be the Wiggly's corned beef place.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's right across from like Shed 7, I think. You got to go. It's good.
I know. Yeah, I know exactly where that's at. When my studio was like over there in Eastern Market, we was always bouncing around Eastern Market, but that was many moons ago.
I haven't been to Cutter's in a while. Maybe we'll go to Cutter's, have a burger.
Cutter's is good.
Love Cutters. And
that was the joke when you walk into a place and you could smell cow shit. Like, the meat's going to be fresh. Like, if you don't know, it's in the meat packing district.
Yeah. So, the meat packing. Yeah. Man, even more moons ago when I was a truck driver, that's back when it was really, those were the days. Louisiana Creole Gumbo. They are back in effect.
What is it called, Randy?
Louisiana Creole Gumbo.
They are back in effect.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Not that spot, but it's but they're back in effect because they're down the street now.
Right on
I saw
Gratiot?
them like they're down the street on Gratiot. They used to have another location. They stretched out. Now they just getting back going and good. They have a solid gumbo near the 2200 Hunt Street.
And you know where I'm going to take you? Speaking of last thing on German food, a Turkish immigrant brought a doner kebab. Have you ever had a doner, proper doner?
No.
So basically, think of a gyro with the lamb meat and the kind of lettuce, tomato, onion, but it's like a spicier sauce, and it's in like a naan bread, like Indian naan bread, in like a sandwich in a pocket.
Okay.
And it's to me, it's top 3 sandwiches around here.
For you, I'll try it.
For me,
I'm not a big goat or lamb. I don't know what it is. Goat, lamb.
You like gyro meat?
No, I'm a big.
All right, I won't make it. No, I won't force it on you.
Okay, yeah, because I'm big. Now, like, did you ever get, speaking of foods and stuff, you ever get into the crazy ass hot sauce competition that Tom and them were doing?
I won't do it. When I order the Thai food downstairs, I put no spice, and I put like negative no spice. Like,
Negative no.
I didn't have. I'll be honest with you. I grew up immigrant parents. I didn't eat Chinese food till I was probably 24. I didn't have Mongolian barbecue till I was like 25. I didn't have sushi till I was like 27.
I don't know that. Okay, depending upon, Detroit doesn't have the best Chinese, so that may not necessarily be a bad.
Right.
That may not be a bad thing. Mongolian barbecue is. I never really. It's so weird because I was like, it's like I just want to order food. I may mess my own food up. You know what I'm saying?
It all tasted the same. They're all closed now.
Yeah.
They like, no matter what you put in that bowl, it all tasted the same. That was the problem. And it's fine, but how many times can you eat the same thing? You know, that was.
I felt like I was messing it up sometimes.
What's the place to go that nobody knows about? We'll end on that.
My favorite place to go that I don't think a lot of people are connecting with. One of my favorite restaurants, Taste of Ethiopia. They used to be in Eastern Market.
They were in Eastern Market.
Northwestern Highway. Love it.
What's the dish?
Oh man, you always got to go for the whole, but really it's the red lentils and the injera bread, great red lentils. Nothing's better.
All right, I'm in. I remember when they were in Eastern Market, I never went.
Oh, love it.
Love it. Done. Khary, man, it's a pleasure. Detroit is different. You can find them on anywhere, podcast, videos, all the things. You are everywhere, and it's good to see you, man. Man. This has been too long, so we gotta plan some stuff. Go hang out again.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna be pulling up to one of your kickbacks too. I know you said that you all are over at Bar Louie next, so
yeah, we'll be back here the month after. So
okay,
we're rotating.
Okay, I'm pulling up. Randy,
good.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Hey, we're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks, get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.